I'm Katie Darrell, and today we are at home and social with the Tragically Hip. How are you guys?
Yeah, great, Katie. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I was joking right before we hit record on this that the new album, Saskadelphia, it does not roll off the tongue, but I love the name and I love the backstory on it, and I can't believe that there were lost tracks. And it makes you wonder, how many other bands have lost tracks out there? Let's talk about yours. There were 6 tracks that you guys ended up finding to put together on this album, correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly. We the whole process got started when one of Rob Baker, our guitar player, read in the New York Times about the fire on the Universal lot, and amidst all the names of all the artists that had lost material, we found ours. And we were really fortunate. We left MCA America in 1994 or 95. And anyway, our master tapes were shipped back to Toronto. But just the idea that we didn't know where they were kind of started this archiving process, trying to find all our recordings. And our drummer, John Fay, is up in Toronto and was really, really diligently kind of digging through things, and we were able to find 2/3 of the tapes from which we called these 6 tracks. So yeah, it's been fun.
And there were, like you said, you were having to dig through the archives and stuff because you were looking in particular for these songs that you had recorded in New Orleans, right?
We recorded them in New Orleans, yes, and we were looking for them in LA and in Toronto mostly. But it required some phone calls and some memories. A lot of the people that were at record companies back then aren't with those record companies anymore. So there was quite a bit of logistical work to find out where we possibly could find some Road Apples tapes. Yeah, and as Gord said, found 2/3. There were 62-inch reels, and we found around 40. We didn't find a couple, which was disappointing, but we still felt like, it was a kind of a fun idea. People hadn't heard these, certainly the studio versions produced by Don Smith, who produced Road Apples, and that we recorded in New Orleans. So, it was kind of a project that we got us kind of back together with some enthusiasm, and we just thought, well, hey, it sounds a lot better than we were expecting, so let's put something together here.
Well, and this may be a naive question, but when you were in the studio and you were recording Road Apples, and then you also had these other tracks, you originally wanted to put it out as a double disc. Is that correct?
No, that really never crossed our minds. We're big album fans and big music fans, so we just finished a really, really long tour on our first LP. We were signed out of New York to MCA, and we were really conscious of the sophomore jinx and playing, 4, 5, 6 nights a week, writing all the time, when hanging out in hotel rooms, writing and stuff like that. So we tried to amass as many songs as we could, and we came down to New Orleans with 18, 20 finished songs that we'd actually played on stage, on the road, and managed to write a few more while we were down there. And we kind of thought strictly in terms of A-sides and B-sides, vinyl LPs, and trying to get the best 5 songs per side, and wound up with a bunch of extra songs. And that's what we built Saskadelphia for.
So these extra songs, Saskadelphia, which went missing for some time, how does 6 songs disappear from your brain, right? I mean, at what point, why didn't you think when you were making then the 3rd album, hey, let's pull that song, Ouch, really was rocking. We should put that on the 3rd album. How were you able to basically forget, these tracks?
I guess we just weren't built that way. If a song didn't get onto a record, the final version of Road Apples, sure. Everyone just kind of moved on to more writing, and we were moving on, obviously, to more touring. And we kind of, at the time, maybe we were wrong, but we just wanted to always go with new stuff. And I don't think we were judging Ouch. We all knew Ouch was a good tune, and same with the others, and that we enjoyed playing them. But it's kind of like they had their shot. And now we all, because everyone had musical ideas and we were all throwing them in all the time. We just didn't really have any room or desire to look back. And lo and behold, 35 years later or whatever, well, I guess it's 30 years exactly from Road Apples, we pushed play once they were all kind of remixed and everything, and it sounded like us in a room when we were in our mid-20s, and it just was way better because but we would all remember and actually have a good shot at being able to play them. So it wasn't like they just disappeared from our memory. They disappeared from being a contender for any record in the future.
When you guys were in the room together and you hit play and you heard those songs, did it bring in a flood of emotions?
And very much so. We lost our singer, and yeah, we were. It was kind of like stepping into a time machine in a lot of ways. We were young men, just sort of embarking on our career. We were very good friends before we put the band together, and touring our first record, it was fairly relentless. And in a lot of circumstances, that might have broken up a band, but it actually made us closer. We loved each other's company. We loved the playing together. We hadn't really started our families yet, so we were a band and a family at the same time. And then you go back 30 years later, and you hear, you hear the mixes and you hear the talking between us in between tapes, and yeah, it's really, it's beautiful and it's emotional and it's sad and happy all at the same time. It's just, so yeah, it's been quite a process for sure.
You've had the pleasure of playing for some very important people. Who were you more nervous or excited to play for? The Queen or Prime Minister Justin Trudeau?
It's more circumstantial. I mean, they both had their nerve-wracking elements, probably less to do with the Queen and the Prime Minister, more to do with the situation. When we played for the Queen, we were playing two songs amongst other people, Oscar Peterson and quite a few other acts, and it was on TV. And TV is, you lose some control over your own environment. And so I would choose that. Would be more nerve-wracking. Yet again, though, when we played for the PM, that was the last show. We didn't say it or anything, even amongst ourselves. We didn't know for sure it was our last show, but it was the last show of that tour. And we were in control of more there. We had 15 shows under our belt, and we were in our element. We were feeling good, and the cameras kind of stayed away, and we didn't have like a director saying, okay, in 10, 9, 8, go on the stage. But it was an honor to certainly to play for those kind of people, and remember both those gigs pretty fondly.
Let's talk about Eden Fest. This is such a crazy time in the band's history. For those of you just tuning in, I'm Katie Darrell, and we are at home and social with the Tragically Hip. Eden Fest, that was around 1996, and this was a concert festival where about 70,000 tickets were sold. But 20,000 people broke the barriers and got in. So you really maxed out capacity. Was this a nerve-wracking event to be involved in?
No, not really. It was actually really, really wicked. Actually, it was promoted out of Buffalo, big 3-day festival at a racetrack in Mossport, Ontario. And we'd been involved with a number of festival-based tours over the course of our career. At that point, we had put on at least one ourselves called Another Roadside Attraction, where we traveled across the country on a multiple act kind of bill, and done a lot of stuff in the summers in Europe. But this was the biggest one that we'd done to date in Canada. And it was great. Like, it was a great day in music. I'll always remember, we played on the Saturday night. I'll always remember the Friday night was headlined by The Cure. It was the first time I'd had a chance to see them play live. And I mean, if anything, boy, did they ever set the bar. They were just an incredible live band. I always liked the recording stuff, but yeah, it was really, really fun. It was a beautiful weekend. And it ended a little bit on a strange note on Sunday, but we packed up and left by that point, so avoided the melee.
The band definitely has its diehard fans, all right? There's some lifers out there. And when you've met and done like meet and greets, back when we could do meet and greets, does anyone's story stand out of someone who maybe is like, I've seen you 45 times. I have all the cassette tapes and recordings because I've made all these bootlegs. Do you have any super fans that kind of stand out? You don't need to name names, but like, you know.
We had a lot of crazy times. You know, it was 32 years. And over the first few years, we started to get fans that were traveling. You know, kind of right behind us or with us and coming to 4 or 5 shows in a row and or doing like a West Coast swing. And yeah, we got used to it and always any of us individually would give anyone the time of day that likes your music. I mean, it makes you feel good. The work you have to do is just to appreciate everybody and the fact that you know that some of our songs or a specific song meant something. I mean, we certainly had a lot of fans that were like, this was my wedding song, long time running, or you know, We Kings or many others. And so I think we just tried to make people feel good that we're saying, hey, I've been to 45 shows, and we're like, whoa, really? Wow, you know. But things never got too crazy. If things ever got crazy, we'd like everyone means well, like really.
Of course, yeah. I'm not saying that they're creeps. That's not. I'm just saying like the diehard. Where you're like, you've invested a lot of time and money on us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just appreciate it. I don't have a specific story that stands out, but you know, I would recognize many of them over the years. That's for sure.
What about bootleg recordings? Have you been able to explore and find some of those on your own and listen and enjoy bootlegs that fans have recorded?
It's actually been really interesting. We used to encourage it, and there was an element of our fan base, and they would come and they would take a feed off our front of house console and record the shows, and we did a lot of recording ourselves. And part of this archiving process is we've been going through old live tapes that we've made, and over the course of the last 6 months or so, a lot of people have been reaching out and sending us their recordings or making us aware of shows that really meant a lot to them. And yeah, and like Paul was saying, we were really fortunate to have a lot of people that would follow us every night, and we were super aware of it. We would see familiar faces, so we would change up the sets every night, playing different
because
songs.
These guys would call you out on it, right? You're like, oh
yeah, well, exactly. You don't want to be like reading from the script, like a laundry list, and playing with the same opener and the same closer, and you know, it was out of deference to them. And you know, our diehard fans, you know, they kept us on our toes and made us play a bunch of songs sometimes that we didn't maybe know all that well. but it's been really, really great going back to that stuff.
When it came to making the set lists, was that something that you would do moments before getting on stage? Who was in charge of that? Who spearheaded what the night looked like?
Gord here, whom you're talking to, I think he did the sets for, and it was usually late afternoon if we were going on at 9 or whatever. And I think he did that for a good 23 years, and then he quit. Robbie did it for 2 years, and then Gord started doing it again. And then I did them for the last tour. But we would, everyone was curious as the gig got closer. Oh, what's the set going to be? So there was a lot of pressure on you, Gord, for a lot of years. And it just got to be, you know, because you want to please everybody.
Sure.
Like in the band first. And so there was always a little bit of back and forth. Like if someone was like, oh, that one, I don't. But yeah,
Not again.
yeah. But
Yeah, a lot of that.
Gord did it.
A lot of that. It was easier when we had 3 records out and 2 records out. It got a little harder the more material we had together because, it was just, there was a lot of songs to choose from. It got pretty difficult.
2021 is a big year for the Tragically Hip. Obviously, you have the release of Saskadelphia with 6 previously unreleased tracks, but also you are being given a Humanitarian Award. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. The Junos are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. The Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Science put it on. And they've honored us with the Humanitarian of the Year award. I think it kind of we've always been involved in community-based causes and environmental causes and Aboriginal causes, and it's just a very, very flattering recognition, and we're really quite honored. You look down the list of past recipients, and it's like a lot of things. You kind of look and see yourself included in that company, and it's very, very, very flattering. When we were young guys, after Road Apples first came out, we got a chance to invited to play Rush at Maple Leaf Gardens, and they did an annual fundraiser for the United Way in Toronto, and it was a real eye opener for us. I mean, this is the mecca of hockey in Canada. Sorry, Paul. And he would say it was the Montreal Forum, but here we were with one of our favorite bands, and the place was packed to the rafters, and all the proceeds for the show were being donated to the United Way. And it was a real eye opener of the ability that an artist of that stature had to give back to the community. And we made a real mental note of that and tried to carry on that tradition for our career.
Going back to Saskadelphia, can we talk about the name? This is like a joke, right? It was a combination like making up, because you were road warriors. You were on the road so much. Is that where it came from?
Yeah, I mean, we were in the van for a long time, years, driving ourselves and all over America and all over Canada. And, I think Johnny came up with it, but it was just like we could be in Pittsburgh, then Detroit, then up to Winnipeg, over to Saskatoon, then down to, we're at Missoula, Montana, across. And it just became like kind of a running joke, like, where are we tonight? Because the routing, no offense to our manager at the time and our manager now, Jake Gold, and our agents, but sometimes the routing, you can't make it just, go from
they're picking you everywhere, huh?
Yeah, it kind of goes to A to E to B, back to F, up to G. And so we just thought, we put up with it. We just had to do a lot of driving and a lot of traveling, and because we were playing usually 6 nights a week, sometimes 5 if we were lucky. And so I think Johnny came up with it, and it was just, I think he had seen a church called something Delphia, and he just said, "Where are we tonight, Saskadelphia?" And we all thought that was kind of funny and kind of cute, and we actually wanted to call the Road Apples that record, that title. It finished first in our voting, our internal voting. And the record company, American record company, it was like, no way, no, it's too Canadian. So we gave them an even more Canadian title, but they didn't know it, called Road Apples, which is, frozen pieces of horse dung that you play hockey with when you don't have any pucks. And it's also another term for playing road hockey. You go play Road Apples. So we gave them a more Canadian title, but they loved it. And so I'm not surprised that this record's called Saskadelphia, because it's like that was the real winner of the votes.
Well, speaking of voting, when the band would have to vote on things, did it seem like there were alliances? Was it always kind of you knew who was going to vote alongside with the other people, or was it always a switch up?
We sort of made all our decisions over our career based on unanimity. Like if we weren't all behind something, we wouldn't do it. And like sometimes when it came down to naming records and naming songs, and it could get a little heated at times. But we, like Paul suggested, we were in the van a lot, and we had lots of time to work out our differences and sort of see the light on things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important. We still operate that way going forward now. You know, if everyone's not behind a project or what we're doing, then we just sort of leave it be.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate the time. Make sure you stay safe, all right?
Yeah, you too, Kate. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, you too. Nice talking to you.
Hey there, thanks for watching Access TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know, just let us know what your favorite Access TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I'd like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.